Okay, introduction. So the collection plan is specifically to support any of your present and immediate future actions. So we want the collection plan to be based on the current state of your collection, which is where a previous assessment is usually very handy and informative for a collection plan. However, if you're a staff member who has been with your home institution and collection for a while, that assessment piece is not always necessary to get to the collection plan part. You just need to have a very real and accurate understanding of the state of your collection. So, the point number one, know what you have and what state it's in. And then point number two for the collection plan is it's its job to support the immediate 3 to 5 years future goals of the organization. So this is where we want to think about what we need in place for the collections care and management and priority projects we have, both now and in the next 3 to 5 years. I do want to note, while elements of the collection plan may be considered timeless in terms of, well, we will always preserve things this way or catalog according to these standards. That is true. However, each of our collections and our setups are unique. And so there are going to be very real and specific things that may need to happen or be included in the areas that are otherwise considered timeless. Also, as our tools change, as our priority projects for that immediate future focus change, what you include in your collection plan, the emphasis, the level of detail, etc., will also or should also vary and be updated with those in mind. So the collection plan, at least from our perspective at Relicura, is that this is very much a living document. And while there are elements of it that can be timeless based on best practice, it is also intended to be a tool that you use to help improve and perform future projects and future collection care and management to the best of your staff and the organization's abilities. All right, the benefits of it. So why spend time, which is precious, doing a collections plan? So here are some of the benefits. It helps us to set intentions for improved collection care management, display, and access. And with those in mind for the collection plan, making sure that for each of those elements, we are keeping our current collection state and resources, etc., in mind as we put those forward. It also provides a scope and prioritization for our upcoming work. So elements of the collection plan that we'll spend some time on a little later, you can see how scoping those out, how getting some specifics documented within this collection plan can help you in those next steps for, okay, we got the green light to do project A. Project A, we've already scoped, we know we need these things, like you can immediately action it. So something that can be very valuable once you do get the resources you need. It can also aid in demonstrating the plan. So in terms of like, here is our priority project, here are the resources we need, here's the timeline, here's the scope, etc. And this is very helpful as an illustration of evidence for any fundraising ask. So an ask made of a donor or donors, and or the grant application process. So just like the collection assessment was handy evidence to include in these types of things, so too is the collection plan, even if it's one that you've created yourself versus one that came from like an outside consultant. And then finally, the information in the collections plan can be very helpful when advocating for an increase in staffing, contractor assistance, getting fancier, better equipment or collections management system, you name it. As you document these things in your collection plan, it can help you build that case towards getting in better resources, increased resources and capacity, that kind of thing. When is a collection plan useful? So we would definitely argue a collection plan is useful at any time because it very much can help guide and keep everybody focused on those immediate future goals and be very intentional with the limited resources that we have. But it can also be very useful at these critical times for either when a collection is just started. So if you are at one of the organizations that tend to be on the newer side or have just been more newly formed, not having collection policies necessarily in place yet, not having a more detailed future plan other than getting started, a collections plan can be very useful for these next first steps. Also, if your collection has existed, but maybe it's not been formalized or there was never really a moment or chance to sit down and be intentional with a collection plan, this is where having that plan and taking the time to do it can be very helpful as you're formalizing different elements of your either organization or collection. And then also when the former collection has existed and the organization has been around for a while, but maybe there's been changes to policy, maybe there's been major staff transitions, different goals, maybe there's a new strategic plan. Any of that that has impact or changes to collections care or management, this is where a collections plan could be very helpful in these states of transition as things are being newly established or reevaluated before they're either instituted or changed again. So having this collections plan, again, I would argue helpful at any time, but in these particular situations, especially, are when we are usually called in as consultants to help with that planning piece. So who creates the collections plan? It can absolutely be you. So you as a staff member, someone on your staff, a very skilled volunteer or board member, for example. So it can absolutely be you and still be a very valid plan. It can also be anybody with access or familiarity to the collection or the goals. And it can be an outside person. So this is where like it could be a board member if they happen to have that particular skill set and knowledge of your collection in mind. It may also be helpful depending on where you're located and what professional organizations you might have access to. There can be mentors, colleagues, people from peer organizations that all may offer or be able to help assist with a collection plan. And then, of course, you can get outside expertise in by working with a consultant in order to do that either collections assessment and or plan or both as the outside person coming in doing that assessment and or collections care and management plan. And then benefits of working with a consultant. If you attended last month's webinar, the benefits are the same in terms of having that outside person who brings in expertise and perhaps a broader frame of reference. As consultants, we've seen a lot of different shops and sort of, peeks behind the curtain of the different collections. And so we can pull from those frames of reference and what we've seen in the past that may be applicable for your particular institution or collection. We are also able to perform the work and not have it impact, or at least certainly not as much as it would impact the staff capacity if you were doing the collection plan on your own. And then it also just provides that outside voice with a different level of influence. I will a caveat, as I believe I did last month, where like if you are in place and you have the training and you've been saying the same things, this is by no means saying that your knowledge or skills are not good enough or up to par. Unfortunately, it's more so, it just seems to be the state of things where you could be the person who have said all the same things. However, just having an outside voice for whatever reason just offers a different power dynamic. And so sometimes when we see those same things, it gets listened to a little bit better. So for those reasons, it can be helpful. Even though you know what you need to do, you may need an ally in communicating that and getting buy-in from whomever is up above needing to do the yes or no.